It begins with a solitary stroll from the cemetery. No cameras, no entourage, just Keanu Reeves. His hoodie is pulled up, fingers clutching a single white lily, a grieving father misidentified as a threat. In mere seconds, a racist cop's grip shatters the silence. His forearm crushes a throat that has delivered lines the world will never forget. What the officer fails to grasp is that the man he just pinned against a brick wall is far from ordinary. When he realizes this, his badge transforms from a shield into evidence. What follows ignites a city, stripping a badge of its protection and reminding everyone that silence is never safe. Hit that like button if you believe in this truth, and let us know where you're watching from. The cemetery is still, save for the breeze carrying the scent of freshly cut grass and something older, perhaps memories. Keanu stands alone by a simple gray headstone, the name of his daughter etched beneath his ex-wife's, both gone too soon. His fingers tighten around the stems of a bouquet of white lilies, fresh and delicate against the worn lines of his hands. He crouches slowly, knees cracking faintly in the silence, and lays the flowers down with reverence. His other hand, rough from years of solitude and wrench-turning rituals in a garage no one knew he still used, traces the edge of the stone. He remains silent. There's nothing left to say. After a moment, he stands again. The wind shifts, lifting a lock of hair across his face, which he doesn't push back. He simply turns and walks, a lone figure in a weathered gray hoodie and worn jeans, moving with a stillness too heavy to name. The city has changed, but the streets remain the same. He passes the bookstore where his daughter once pointed at covers with wide eyes, and the cafe where her mother used to sip black coffee and discuss films she never got to finish. Keanu moves past each place without stopping, holding tighter to the one remaining lily in his hand. He isn't famous here, not today, not with an untrimmed beard, tired eyes, and a gait slowed by a weight no movie could carry. No cameras, no premieres. Just a man with shadows in his step and silence in his pocket. He turns a corner and feels it immediately. A shift like static in the air, like a spotlight that hasn't turned on yet but already burns. Across the street, a patrol car idles. Inside, Officer Malloy, mid-30s with a buzz cut, grips the steering wheel too tightly. Keanu feels the glance before he sees it. A look that isn't about concern but control wrapped in suspicion. He keeps walking, the last lily bobbing gently in his hand. With each step, there's no rush in him, but there's focus, like a man walking across a thin sheet of glass, aware it might crack with one wrong move. A screech of tires, and the cruiser door opens. Keanu doesn't stop, but in the reflection of a shop window. He sees the officer exit the vehicle and begin to follow, hand resting lightly, too lightly, on the handle of his flashlight. The sidewalk narrows, the space closes in, and suddenly it's not just grief on Keanu's back. It's tension, history, and the smell of gun oil in the air. He passes a streetlight, and his shadow joins him, along with something else. "Sir," the voice rings out, crisp and commanding. Keanu stops slowly, turning his head. The lily trembles slightly in his hand as the storm begins. "Can I ask what you're doing here, sir?" The voice sharpens this time, just a few feet away. Keanu turns fully, slowly, as if the motion requires more than muscle. Officer Malloy stands with his feet planted wide, one hand near his belt, the other slightly raised, as if warning someone not to run. Keanu meets his gaze without blinking. "I'm walking," he replies. Malloy's brows twitch as he looks over Keanu's clothes, the slight wear on the hoodie cuffs, the calloused hands, the deep lines under his eyes. But it isn't recognition that passes over him. It's dismissal, judgment in uniform. Walking where? Keanu gestures with the flower still in his hand toward the corner. Then west. "I have a place near Rosewood." Malloy squints. "You live here." Keanu's voice doesn't shift. "I used to. I still keep a place." There's a pause. Just long enough for tension to bloom. Malloy doesn't like the tone. Not disrespectful, just steady and calm. The kind of calm that makes some men want to stir trouble. "Do you have ID on you?" "Do I need it?" Keanu asks. The officer straightens slightly. There's been a report of a suspicious male matching your description walking back and forth through this block. Keanu almost smiles, but not with his mouth. That wouldn't be the first time someone was matched based on a beard and dark clothes. Malloy steps closer, boots heavy on the pavement. Sir, I'm asking again. Identification. Keanu looks down at the crushed lily in his hand. I just came from the cemetery. Is that so? Yes, alone. Keanu's jaw clenches. Just a flicker of something breaking through. For a long moment, neither moves. The street around them feels like it's holding its breath. A bus passes a block away. A cyclist slows, sensing something, then keeps moving. Inside a bakery window, a young woman freezes mid-bite, eyes fixed on the sidewalk. I'm not resisting, Keanu says quietly. I didn't say you were. You're acting like I am. Malloy exhales through his nose. Sir, you're being uncooperative. No, I'm being precise, Keanu replies. I haven't broken any law. You stopped me because I didn't look right walking through a neighborhood where grief doesn't wear tuxedos. Malloy's lips pull into a tight, practiced line, the kind that hides nerves under authority. Last chance, show me some ID. Keanu glances up at the overcast sky. For a moment, he looks ancient, tired in a way that has nothing to do with years. Then evenly he says, do what you think you need to do, but know this. There are cameras, there are witnesses, and I'm not who you think I am. Malloy blinks once, but he's already decided. He takes a step forward and reaches for Keanu's arm. The grip comes fast. Faster than Keanu expects. Malloy's hand latches onto his forearm with a force that speaks of something deeper than training, something personal. The suddenness doesn't surprise Keanu. The intention does. Turn around, hands where I can see them. I haven't. But before the sentence can finish, Malloy twists his wrist upward and shoves him backward. Keanu's spine slams into the red brick wall behind him with a dull, deep thud. Pain pulses down through his shoulder blades. The lily falls from his hand, tumbling to the pavement, petals scattering like broken silence. Then the forearm comes across his throat, not choking, not entirely, but pressing hard enough to steal breath, to assert dominance without leaving a bruise. Not yet. Keanu doesn't fight. His hands instinctively rise, not to strike, not even to resist, but simply to brace himself, palms open, elbows bent. He locks eyes with Malloy, breathing shallow, measured, the way a stuntman breathes when a real punch lands wrong. Don't, Malloy growls. Don't play innocent. I'm not playing anything, Keanu rasps, voice pressed thin under the weight. I'm just standing here. You're resisting. I'm existing. For a second, everything freezes. Across the street, a child's voice cuts the air. Isn't that Keanu Reeves? A phone clicks. Another voice rises, older, trembling with fury. Get your damn hands off him. Malloy doesn't move. His grip stays iron, his eyes wide, flickering with realization but not regret. Keanu's knees bend slightly under the pressure. He holds his ground, but it takes effort now. The weight of the forearm, the force behind it. It isn't just physical. It's institutional. It's years of people looking at his face and expecting the beard to mean something wild, something broken, something unworthy of trust. Behind him, the wall is cool and unyielding. Beneath him, the petals of the lily crumple into the dirt next to them. The Bible he carries for her has slipped from his hoodie pocket and now lies open, face down, a page lifted in the breeze. Psalms. He doesn't need to read it. He remembers the verse. They set traps for me, but they will fall into them themselves. Malloy leans in closer, voice tight with a threat he barely understands. You think you're above this? No, Keanu whispers. I think you forgot where your line is. The crowd is growing. Witnesses, cameras, whispers becoming warnings. Malloy looks up, breathing heavier now, and Keanu, even with pressure on his throat, never breaks eye contact. He doesn't shove, he doesn't scream. He stands, and that is the threat Malloy never trained for. The air splits. Not with a roar, but with a slice. The screech of tires echoes like a blade across the pavement. Fast, sharp, undeniable. A black SUV comes to a halt with surgical precision against the curb, just yards from where Keanu stands pinned. Officer Malloy flinches only slightly, but Keanu feels it. The subtle give in the forearm across his throat, like tension letting go of a secret it couldn't hold. Doors unlock, then silence. For a moment, the street holds its breath. Then she steps out. Evelyn James, slate gray coat swinging behind her, loafers soundless on concrete. Her dark hair remains perfectly still despite the breeze, framing a face carved from steel and courtroom experience. She doesn't raise her voice, she doesn't need to. Let go of Mr. Reeves. Malloy turns, startled. His arm drops instinctively, his posture faltering for the first time. Keanu takes a step forward, breathing again. His hand moves to his neck, rubbing the spot where silence had nearly been forced upon him. He says nothing, but the way he exhales, low and steady, feels like thunder to anyone paying attention. Evelyn doesn't blink. Her eyes lock onto Malloy like a surgeon marking where to cut. "Who are you?" Malloy asks, trying to summon authority he no longer possesses. She reaches into her coat pocket slowly, deliberately, and pulls out a leather folio. Inside, a federal clearance badge and a card embossed with the Reeves Foundation seal. "I'm the legal counsel of Mr. Keanu Reeves," she says, "and you just made the biggest mistake of your career." Murmurs ripple through the gathering crowd. A teen holding a phone whispers into his live stream, "Bro, that's his lawyer." She's serious. Another voice adds, "Yo, that's really him. That's John Wick in real life." Malloy looks around, chest heaving now, suddenly aware of how many phones are pointed at him, how many eyes are narrowing, how much silence is growing. Keanu says nothing. He doesn't have to. Evelyn takes a step closer. "You're being recorded from at least 8 angles. Counted. What you just did. That's excessive force, that's public assault, that's grounds for an immediate internal affairs review." "I had reasonable suspicion," Malloy says weakly. "You had bias," Evelyn replies. "And now you have a problem." Keanu finally speaks, low but clear. "I told you you don't know who I am." Malloy backs away another step, face draining of color. I didn't recognize." "That's the point," Evelyn cuts in, sharper now. "You saw a man in a hoodie and decided he didn't belong. You didn't ask, you attacked." Keanu scans the crowd, then bends slowly to pick up the crushed lily from the sidewalk. What remains of it lies behind him, the broken stem beside him. A lawyer forged in fire before him, a reckoning. For the first time that afternoon, Malloy takes a full step back. Malloy's badge gleams under the sun, but no one is looking at it anymore. They're looking at Keanu Reeves. The murmurs aren't just whispers now. They're statements thick with realization and judgment. A mother pulls her child closer and mutters, "That's Keanu Reeves, and he isn't doing anything." A teenager watching through their phone whispers, "He's screwed. This is already viral." Malloy hears every word. His jaw twitches. His eyes scan the crowd as if he might find a version of this story that doesn't end with him fired or worse. Keanu remains still, standing with a crushed lily in one hand, the other resting near the collar of his hoodie where Malloy's arm had pressed just minutes ago. The red mark on his throat is faint but visible enough. Evelyn doesn't move either. She stands beside Keanu like an anchor. Not flashy, not loud, but immovable. Her presence alone is louder than any siren. Malloy takes another step back. "I didn't know who he was," he says, trying to sound calm. The strain showed. "It was just a misunderstanding." "No," Evelyn replies, voice flat as glass. "A misunderstanding is mistaking someone's name. You didn't misunderstand. You profiled, you escalated, you humiliated." The silence around them grows heavier. Camera shutter clicks somewhere across the street. A man in a UPS uniform crosses his arms and shakes his head slowly. Keanu looks at Malloy, not with anger but with something far worse, disappointment. The kind of disappointment that makes a man remember his choices at 3 a.m. You didn't see a person, Keanu says. His voice soft, too soft. You saw a threat. A hoodie, a beard, something disposable. I was just doing my job, Malloy insists, chest puffing, but the badge feels heavier now. Not like honor, but like weight, like consequence. Evelyn steps in then. Your job's about to meet civil litigation. That moment the power shifts. It isn't in the uniform. It isn't in the gun holstered at Malloy's side. It's in the dozens of phones raised like lanterns in the eyes of people who have seen too much to look away again. A voice from the crowd asks plainly, "You going to apologize or just hide behind your badge?" Malloy doesn't answer. He can't because the badge isn't shielding him anymore. It's isolating him. Evelyn turns to Keanu, her voice softening. "Are you okay?" He nods once, barely. "Yeah, just tired." The crowd parts as they step away, a slow, respectful opening, as if a path is being cleared, not for fame, but for truth. Malloy stands alone, shadow lengthening on the sidewalk like a man whose uniform no longer fits. One final voice calls out as Keanu passes. "We saw everything, man. We've got your back." Keanu gives a faint nod, not to be polite, but because he hears it and he needs to. Behind him, the crushed lily lies forgotten, but the shift is already in motion. The house is quiet when they return, a single porch light humming against the early evening dusk, casting soft amber onto the front steps. Keanu sits on the wooden swing just outside the door, elbows resting on his knees, fingers locked loosely. The hoodie he wears still holds the crease where Malloy's arm had crushed it against his throat. He hasn't changed clothes. He hasn't spoken much either. Inside, Evelyn's voice drifts in and out, measured, calm, strategic. On the phone with a city official, then a civil rights attorney, then someone from a major news network. She paces like a lawyer, but her silence in between calls is heavier than words. Keanu stares into the dusk, as if it might offer some kind of answer. His fingers brush the edge of the lily petal he placed beside him. Rescued from the sidewalk, partially torn but not completely ruined, like something that has been stepped on but not silenced, Evelyn finally steps outside, closing the screen door behind her. She stands at the railing for a moment before speaking. "You should rest." "I can't," Keanu replies, voice hoarse. "Not yet." Evelyn leans forward, arms crossed, her tone gentle but firm. "You don't have to explain anything, not to me." "I know," he says, "but it's not about explaining." He looks up at her now, eyes rimmed with exhaustion but clear. If that officer had pushed someone else into that wall today, someone not on magazine covers, not with lawyers on speed dial, no one would have come. Evelyn doesn't argue. He continues, "You know what that moment felt like, not when he grabbed me but when he realized who I was. That shift in his eyes, like suddenly my life had value. That's the part that burns the worst," Evelyn says. "That recognition changes the outcome, not the behavior." Honey nods slowly. "I keep thinking about all the people who get shoved like that, choked like that, and don't have cameras or lawyers or last names that trend. You want to speak?" Evelyn asks. "I want to act," he says, standing slowly, knees stiff, hand briefly gripping the post beside the swing. "You think we can request an emergency hearing?" "I already did," Evelyn says. "They're expecting you." He smiles faintly. "Of course you did." Beat passes. "I'm tired of letting other people speak for moments like this," Keanu says. "All these years I thought staying quiet was grace, but maybe it was just easier." "You've earned your peace," she replies, "but it doesn't mean I get to keep it while others can't breathe." The porch light flickers. Neither of them moves. Inside, Keanu's phone buzzes with a dozen missed calls. News anchors, friends, even his agent asking if he wants to get ahead of the narrative. But the only thing Keanu wants to get ahead of now is justice. He turns to Evelyn. "Tomorrow," he says, "we speak." The courthouse steps are crowded by morning. Not with paparazzi, not with fans, but with something older, deeper, presence. People stand in quiet clusters, holding coffee cups and silent anticipation. The city buzzes beneath their feet, waiting to see whether the moment that erupted on a sidewalk will collapse into apology or rise into change. Keanu arrives without security, no entourage, no sunglasses. Just a gray suit, simple black shoes, and the same tired eyes he had the day before. He walks beside Evelyn James, who holds a small folder pressed tight to her side, the kind of folder that usually tears careers apart. Inside,